Okay, welcome everyone. Thanks for joining us here on Acker All-Stars Uncorked. This is our third episode here in the series where we feature some of the NBA stars, both past and present, who share a love that we all have, which is a love for fine wine. My name is John Capon. I'm the owner and chairman of Acker Wines, the world's destination for fine wines. We're America's oldest wine shop, and we're the world's largest wine auction house. I am joined, of course, by our own superstar at Acker, Miss Lily Mirabelle Friedman. Welcome, Lily.
Nice to see you, John. Great,
Thank
happy
you
to be
for
here.
joining us. Yes, great to have you. And of course, we have with us, it is my pleasure to introduce to you a man that needs no introduction, a man who spent 19 seasons playing in the NBA, a man who was 1995 California's Mr. Basketball, a man who was a 10-time NBA All-Star, an NBA Finals MVP, NBA Finals champion, of course, NBA All-Rookie first team, and had his number retired by two of the most legendary teams in all of sports, the Boston Celtics and the Kansas Jayhawks, and now serving as an analyst at ESPN. It is with great pleasure that I introduce to you Mr. Paul Pierce. Paul, welcome.
Oh man, it's good to be here. Good to be here. How are you?
Thank you for joining us. And what have you been up to? Where are you joining us from tonight?
Right now, I'm currently in New York City, working the finals. As you can see, the Lakers and the Miami Heat are in a heated championship series. And so I'm out here in the studio working alongside Jalen, Jay Williams, and Maria Taylor. And it's been fun to watch.
So the studios are in New York City. So pretty much you spend all the time in the studio in New York, or is it both coasts, or how does that work?
No, for the finals and the conference finals, we've been in New York studios primarily.
Okay, great to hear it. So Lily, you want to set the ground rules for the chat here?
So we're thrilled that everyone could join us tonight, especially Paul. And I just want to remind everyone that's watching that if you're going to use the chat, please set your preferences or settings to all panelists and attendees so we can get the conversation going. And I'll throw it back to John. We're going to start with a few games to warm us up before we get into the wine.
All right, yes, we're going to warm up with some games. So the first game we're going to play here, everyone, is called Two Truths and a Lie. So I'm going to ask or make statements to Paul, 3 statements, 2 of which are truths and 1 of which is a lie. Of course, Paul's nickname in the NBA was The Truth, and we'll get into that in a little bit. But first, we're going to play this game, and whoever jumps in the chat and guesses the lie, if you guess the lie first, we're going to send you a free bottle of St. Joseph that we're tasting at the end. So free wine for those of you that get in the chat and guess. There's 3 choices here. So don't say yes or no, Paul. I know,
All right.
I'm going to ask you, and then we're going to identify, let everybody jump in, and then you'll reveal it to the crowd which one's a lie.
Awesome.
So here are 3 facts about Paul Pierce, 1 of which is a lie. You are 6'7". You are an amazing bowler. Your high school nickname was All World. So which one is the lie? Okay, so Paul, we have some guesses here. Which one is the lie?
All right, so I am 6'7", and maybe you don't know that I am an amazing baller. So my nickname was not All World in high school. I didn't get a nickname until I got to the NBA.
Right. Nice. So you're an amazing bowler. So what's your average score when you bowl usually?
I'm around 180 plus. You know, I cracked 200 a few times. I love bowling since I was a kid. That I actually built a bowling alley in my house, and so me and my kids, nice. You know, that's one of our favorite things to do.
You're still chasing the elusive perfect 300, I take it?
Oh, still chasing it, still chasing it.
All right, cool. Well, we'll get the bottle of St. Joseph's to the person that got all world first. Thank you very much. So now 3 more facts here. Round number 2. Other than basketball, your favorite sport is tennis. You were 5'8" as a high school sophomore, and you were cut from your high school varsity basketball team. So let's see. We'll give everybody a minute to jump in. Okay. All right. So what's the truth here? We had about 10 or 12 quick responses. What's the lie, rather? Sorry.
All right. So I started playing tennis when I was 8th grade, and I've been playing a lot. I'm really good at tennis, which people probably don't know.
Okay.
As a sophomore, I was 6'4". So 5'8", I was probably 5'8" in the 6th grade. That's the lie right there.
All right, but you were cut on your varsity team. I mean, it's like unbelievable. I can't imagine that coach going on to have a successful coaching career, the one who cut you.
Oh, no. He put me back on the team, though. He put me back on the team. So I don't count it.
Right. Okay, cool. So you're not 5'8". That was the winner. And the last one. You would start your training at 5 a.m. in the off season when you were playing. Your favorite American city is Las Vegas. You gave your daughter a llama as a birthday gift. All right, we'll give everybody a chance here. All right, we got a lot of answers coming in. Okay, what's the truth and what's the lie?
Well, I do love to go to Las Vegas. That is my favorite American city.
All right.
What was the other?
It was you trained at 5 a.m. in the off season.
Oh, training at 5 a.m. Who in their right mind would wake up at 5 a.m.? Me, I would. So the lie is that I bought my daughter a llama for her birthday. No, I didn't.
You didn't buy it.
Took pictures. We took pictures with a llama. We rented it, but I did not buy a llama.
You rented the llama.
Rented the llama.
Okay. See, the internet, spreads all these rumors about buying llamas and stuff. You can't trust what you get on the internet there. But
right.
I'm curious because I was in the market for renting a llama. How much does one of those things cost?
Oh, I'm not so sure. So we did it like a little petting zoo. So we had llamas and other little animals that we came and, that the kids got to pet. And then, I'm not sure, but I'll do anything for my little ones.
Right. That's beautiful. It must have been a great party. They never forgot. So that's amazing. Great. Well, thank you for that. Thank you, everybody, for playing. We're going to do one more game before we start to get into the wine. And we're going to do kind of a fill in the blanks here. I'm going to start a sentence. I'm going to say blank, and then Paul's going to pick a word or two to fill in the blank here. All right. You ready, Paul?
Yeah.
All right. If you never became a professional basketball player, you would have been a blank.
I was really into the criminal justice system, and I always watched FBI investigation series, and I thought I would have gotten to law enforcement.
Okay.
I was a really big fan of a lot of different shows when I was young. Murder, She Wrote, Hunter, Magnum P.I., and so something in law enforcement. That was my major, criminal justice in college.
Okay, very cool. When you played ball, your pregame superstitious activity was blank.
My pregame superstitious activity was I would eat a peanut butter and jelly sandwich right before the game.
All right, give you some carbs and some energy to load up. That makes sense. It's funny because when we were playing around with the lies, one of the lies was I was like, well, just say I hate peanut butter and jelly. So I actually said that as one of the lies, and that's your pregame routine. I think there's something in the air tonight. We were circling around that. Yep. Very cool. So what's your go-to snack is blank?
Oh my gosh. My go-to snack has to be Rocky Road ice cream. Oh my gosh. I will crush some Rocky Road ice cream. Man. That's my favorite.
You know, I was going to ask you if you had to pair a wine with it, what would it be? But I guess it would be a dessert wine or maybe like a port. Do you get into the dessert wines at all yet, or some of the sweet wines, or?
A little bit, not so much, no.
All right. How about?
I'm more of a dinner wine guy.
Right. My guilty pleasure is blank.
My guilty pleasure is blank. McDonald's fries. Oh my goodness. As much as I try to diet, if you put some McDonald's fries in front of me, I can't resist it. Till this day. I mean, they're just the best fries on the planet.
I hear you. I hear you. All right. After wine, my favorite beverage is blank.
Man, after wine, my favorite beverage. I don't know if there's a good beverage after I have a good wine. Probably, usually if I'm drinking wine, that's it for the night. Probably just if I had too much, some water.
Water. Good choice. Good choice. Your first job was blank.
My first job, I was a caddy at a golf course. You know, I had to wash the carts. I was caddying. It lasted about a week because I didn't like the tips. It didn't. I was like, I need to get back in the gym.
Right. You gave it a shot.
I gave it a shot.
Okay. All right. And then last question here for fill in the blank before we get into wines. When you are not on the court, you are most competitive when you blank.
I'm not on the court. I am most competitive when I'm in a good game of poker.
Oh, okay. All right. That sounds like a nice evening in the future. Although I'm not sure I can get up to the stakes that you play at, but
no, small stakes, just for fun with some friends.
All right. Well, let's drink some wine here. Lily, take us through the first wine and get us going here.
So we're going to start with the 2013 No Limit All-In Syrah, which is 100% Syrah from Santa Barbara, made by a friend of John's, in fact. And it's, there we go. Paul's going to show us the label. It's a really cool label. And speaks right to the fact that you guys were just talking about poker. There's a little card right on there.
I need to have this for my card game. No limit.
Yeah.
Right in the game.
So it's made in Santa Barbara with 100% Syrah from some really old school clones that they have there from a winemaker that runs Albin Vineyards. The vineyard is right across the street from Albin's property. And it's very small production. The 2013 is the current release. Only 180 cases of this produced. And it's fresh for a California wine, but really rich and lovely. John, what do you think of it? Paul, you have it in your glass? You ready?
All right, here we go. Oh, I'm about to knock everything over. All right, here we go.
Quick recovery. So, yeah, I like this wine a lot. I mean, this is classic California Syrah. It's got great red fruits. It's got a little bit of, bacon to it. It's got, that kind of, it reminds me of a little bit of a kind of a French style Syrah. I think this wine captures the best of the New World with the rich fruit and the sweet fruit, but also has that kind of little, je ne sais quoi, that Provençal kind of kiss, so to speak, and really a tasty, nice bottle.
Yeah.
Paul, what are your thoughts?
First thing that comes to mind is sexy. I don't know.
All right.
Wow. Wow.
I use
really hit the taste buds.
The wines. Are you familiar with, do you drink a lot of Syrah, or what kind of grapes are you drinking more than others? Do you have a particular favorite that?
I probably drink more Cab than any other thing. I just started getting into more French wines with some of my French friends who take me out to, we have usually an Italian dinner and drink French wine. And so, but majority, I'll say I do a lot of Cabs. When I first got started in wine, it was more Merlot, but now I'm into a lot of the Cabs and stuff.
It's it's kind of where every wine lover, I think, starts first with Cabernet and kind of goes from there. It seems to be like the great launch pad for drinking and collecting wine. So talk to us about your history as a wine collector, a wine lover. Where did it all start? Was there this epiphany bottle or moment that happened? How did you start to love it?
Well, it started, I got married. I drank wine a little bit when I turned 30. Me and my wife went to Napa Valley, and this was my first time to Napa Valley. And, I had a chance to really experience the different vineyards and really get a better understanding of it. As I got older and started having kids, like my other drink was tequila, and I was like, I can't do tequila no more. So I needed to smooth it out, be more adult with some of the drinks I had, and we started getting into the wines, and so that's where it really started. How many years ago? I'm about to be 43, so 13 years ago.
13 years ago. Okay.
Yeah, probably the year we won the championship. So ever since then, that's like a common thing for me and my friends to go to dinner and share our love of wines. And I have a wine collection. I bought a bunch of cases when I was in Napa Valley, filled up my wine room. And, that's sort of like, at this age, you don't go out and party as much. So you just invite friends over for good food and wine.
I am on the same trajectory, my friend. I understand completely. The club gets traded in for the dinner table. It's
Right.
It's kind of that evolutionary step that we have to make. And was there one particular wine that was just like the first wine you were just blown away, like an epiphany kind of wine?
Well, a wine that I remember I was stuck on for years, it started with Silver Oak. And I was like, man, I always got it. And I was just like, man, this wine is really good. And that's like, the start of it. And then as I started to evolve right now, currently, the Camus 2017 is my favorite wine right now.
All right.
I cannot have a steak without the Camus 2017. That's like my go-to. And then every time I introduce it to friends who haven't had it, they're like, it's really, really good.
Yeah, one of the great producers in Napa Valley Cabernet, probably one of the top 10 guys in the entire state of California. An incredible property, and the wines aged magnificently too. They can, those wines can last 20 years, no problem.
Yeah.
So try to keep some in the cellar. Do you have a cellar? Do you keep wine at home, or do you keep it?
Yeah, I do. I have a wine cellar. But I have to refill it. It's kind of running out.
Well, we can help. We can help with that. We're very good at filling things up very quickly. So
it's so big, and it's like you don't think about filling it up, and then you look up, and it's like I'm more than halfway gone.
Right.
But got to get it back filled up. Maybe you guys at Acker can help me out.
Absolutely. We can fill it up very quickly. Like, in fact, fill it up tomorrow night. We have an auction. We'll just, boom, done. 20 lots. We'll get it filled up, But so that's cool. Silver Oak. I remember drinking lots of Silver Oak too when I was, kind of into drinking a lot of California wines.
Yeah.
And, is there one area you want to expand your collection? So now you said you're starting to get into some of the European wines and stuff. Where do you want to go to next?
Well, I just got into my friend. So we went to dinner not long ago, and we drinking some wines from France, and it was like really good. He's like, Paul, this is the best wine you're ever going to have. And I started because I never really ventured out of California a lot, or out of the United States. And so, as I'm going out with some of my other friends from around the world, they just put me on. And the one that was in particular that we had, it was the, I don't even know how to pronounce it. The Chateauneuf, the Chateauneuf, or how do you even say it?
Chateauneuf de Pape.
Yeah, oh my gosh, it was amazing. And it's a very expensive wine. He bought it. He bought 2 or 3 bottles that night, and I was just like, wow. And,
Well,
you know, that
got
just
one
gave.
for you. Got a Chateauneuf for you tonight. So, and this is
Yeah,
one of
see.
top Chateauneufs. Maybe it's not the best, but it's one of the top 2 or 3. So we'll get to that in a minute. So Chateauneuf du Pape, yeah, French, the Bordeaux, the Burgundy, of course, are the 2 kind of, you know, icons of the wine market. So Bordeaux being the Cabernet wines, and Burgundy the Pinot Noirs and such. So I know, you know, when we were talking before the session, you voiced a desire to try some Screaming Eagle and some Chateau Petrus. So how did you hear about those wines and know that those are like the 2 top wines for what they are?
Well, me and my good friend Kevin Garnett, who I played in Boston with, me and him we both drink wine together when we go have dinner and stuff. And, you know, he's always put me on the different wines. And I just remember he was like, I got a big bottle of Screaming Eagle for you. And I was just like, you know, what is that? And I remember years ago, and I looked it up, and it was like one of the more expensive wines. And I'm still waiting on it to this day for him to give it to me. But maybe
then he put it back and he said, for another time.
He was like, the time I saw it, he was like, I'm gonna say this for a special occasion. Me and him have had so many different special occasions, and I think he just forgets. And but I'm gonna hold him to it. I think next time I see him. Thanks for reminding me.
We're gonna get the buzz going overnight. So Kevin gets word, and he's shamed into giving you that bottle of Screaming Eagle that is long overdue for you. And what about the Chateau Petrus? How'd you come to hear about that wine, which is pretty much the most expensive Bordeaux in the world, and also the greatest Merlot in the world?
Yeah, well, like I said, I was at dinner with 2 of my French good friends. You know, guys that we have like card night once every 2 weeks, and we went to dinner one night out in California at a place called Medeo's in Beverly Hills. It's an Italian spot, and he ordered the wine. We had a round table, it was about 6 of us, and he said, Paul, this is going to be the best wine you ever have in your life. And we ordered it with our food, and it tastes so good when we did it with our food. And I remember I took a picture of it, and I said, I got to remember this wine. So every new wine that I taste that I really like, you know, I go, I take a picture of it, I log it in, and make sure that it's on my list to put in the cellar.
That's a great tip. That's a great tip for people that are just starting to collect and learning about wine. I mean, take a picture, because otherwise you can forget. There's so many nuances and names and stuff. So if you had a bottle of Petrus and you had a bottle of Screaming Eagle and you were ready to have dinner, where would you be? Is there a restaurant you would like to be at, a favorite in LA or New York, or would you rather be at home with friends, or who would do the cooking, and what would be your ideal dinner wine?
Wow, probably have to be like 5 of my closest friends who are very avid wine drinkers, most of them are. I feel like, you know, if we're gonna do one of these special bottles of wine, I would want to do it in some place I haven't been in the world. And I haven't been around the world. And I'm thinking about going to Dubai this year with some friends. So maybe like on the water somewhere, just, you know, continuing to enjoy retirement with some of your closest buddies. How about this? Maybe in Monaco, because I always wanted to go there. We have our suits on. We head to the casino. Nice restaurant. We order a nice bottle of wine, and we sit there on the water looking out and just enjoying life, man, because, you know, it doesn't last long, and you just got to enjoy it while you can.
Yep. Great wine is a great part of great living. We agree with you wholeheartedly. So we're going to get into a second wine. Lily, why don't you take it away? We're going to cross the ocean and go to France.
Okay.
Since you're looking to explore French wine, we thought we'd start the second wine with one of our French favorites, certainly one of John's, I'd say, with the 2013 Chave Hermitage. And Chave is one of the longest standing winemaking families in France, in the Northern Rhone specifically. And they've been making wine for 16 generations. And this is 100% Syrah and from Hermitage, which is considered perhaps the apex predator of Syrah making, particularly in France. and they blend all the little parcels of vineyard together to make it so each vintage is unique, but each vintage fits the profile of Chav. So each vintage tastes like Chav, but it also expresses what the year was like and the climate. So this is a pretty spectacular Syrah, I think. And John, what do you think? How's it drinking?
Well, it is a young wine, 2013 for Chav. So just to give you an idea, Paul, this family Chav has been making wine since 1482 for like almost 600 years. They've been making it. There it is. He's got the bottle right here, the Chav. Yep, thank you, thank you.
Yes.
This is Syrah. It's a giant, hill, this steep hill with stressed out vines and different soil types. And this is considered by many to be the greatest Syrah in the world. And it's a little more reserved than the California. It's a little more reserved. It's a little young, so it's not, this wine though can age 30, 40 years, no problem. And, some of these wines, they're like people, you meet somebody when they're a teenager and they got so much potential, and then they develop and they grow, and wines are the same way, just like people. And this to me is a beautiful wine. It's very floral, it's very elegant, has a lot of little peppery notes and just little tickles and kisses of lots of different things going on in the glass.
Paul, what do you think?
You said it got a little pepper?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I can taste it. I can tell the difference for sure.
Yeah, it's not quite as sweet as California, right?
Yeah.
It's sweet, and it's a little more reserved. It's a little more, it's standing up straight. It maybe has like a foofy like thing on, but it's like, it's still like
I like it.
Beautiful, right? Beautiful wine.
Yeah.
And let's talk a little bit about the NBA today versus the NBA when you were playing. Obviously the game has changed a lot. Now, we talked about your nickname was The Truth when you were playing. Where did that nickname come from?
It came from Shaquille O'Neal. One year we were playing in my third year, and I was playing in the Staples Center, and I think I went off for a career high that night with like 42 points. And, one of our reporters from Boston was in the locker room with Shaq, and he was like, "What did you think about that kid, Pierce?" And he quoted, "Hey, you listen, that kid, it's the truth." And so the next day in the papers, they said, "Paul Pierce is the truth." And then from that point on, if Big Shaq give you a nickname, it's no stick. Somebody like him, you give you a nickname, and it's for real. Sometimes people have these self-proclaimed nicknames. They don't earn them. When Big Shaq give you one,
right,
it really means something. And so from that point on, it's stuck. And, coming from a guy who I admire, I even had a Shaq poster when I was in high school. When he said it just gave me so much confidence that it was like, man, I got to live up to this on the court. And so from that point on, it was history.
That's great. That's great. And was there ever any other nickname you had before The Truth, maybe growing up or in high school that you might want to share, or maybe you don't want to share?
Well, no, I mean, people always call me like P squared or P double. Right. But those are your initials that you use. That's about it. P squared and P double.
Right.
But so Shaq gave me my first official, real NBA nickname.
Right. And I thought that I read somewhere that you feel like you stayed true to yourself during your whole NBA career. So what did you mean by that?
I think people, when they meet me and get to know me, and like what I used to tell people who are just, I feel like I'm more original. Like if I had to put it into, like not manufactured, more like handmade. Right. It's just like, no filter.
Right.
So like when people talk to me and get to know me, they're like, He's genuine. He has no filter. That's who he is. And, you know, you either hate it or love it. You know, I feel like you get people who get in the limelight of position. Sometimes they forget who they really are. And just no more substance to them. And I've never been that way. You know, I still do a lot of things on my own. I wash my clothes on my own still. I still do a lot. I still do garden work. I mean, it's the stuff that I grew up doing that I don't mind doing. Like, not because I became, you know, an NBA superstar and I can afford people to do stuff for me. It's just, you know, I'm really hands-on with a lot of things that I do.
Well, that's it's amazing. And I think, you know, that's why you're now a great NBA analyst, because you call it how you see it. But we're going to get into the analyst part a little bit later. So you played for 2 decades in the NBA, which few players can say. It's a huge accomplishment. How is the game different from when you were playing versus today? I mean, you just retired 3 years ago, so you saw kind of the transition over the last few years. But the game definitely, you know, 10 years ago, and I'm an avid fan. I grew up watching Patrick Ewing lose to Michael Jordan over and over and over again.
Yeah.
You know, so I'm a lifelong fan. So, you know, I understand the game a little bit. And so what do you think is the difference between the game when you were in your heyday 10, 15 years ago versus today?
Well, I think the players in my era were a little more physical as compared to today. You know, I think you had more guys who were bigger and stronger, but less skilled. Today, I think the players are much more skilled at all the positions. I mean, when you see guys, usually the traditional center when I play were guys, you know, Shaq, like you said, Patrick Ewing, they just played in the low post and played close to the basket. Now, you see the skill of all the big men and the guards, the way they shoot from long range. I mean, I don't even remember a game I ever took 10 3-pointers, even though I was a really good three-point shooter. Now, across the board, you see a lot of three-pointers being made and taken because guys are better shooters. Guys are more skilled. You know, and that's just the game evolving. When you see guys 7 feet like Giannis and Kevin Durant put the ball on the ground like point guards, it just shows you how far a game has come as far as skill-wise. You know, these guys are so highly skilled, and they learn and they evolve over the years that it's just remarkable to watch. And then you have generational talents like LeBron, like Kevin Durant. I mean, players that we've never seen with this skill set before. And it's lovely to watch the game evolve and expand and players become much better because, you know, you think like, oh, this is the greatest player. Then you have all these other greater players that come along 10, 15 years down the road. And then like right now, we'll say there'll never be a player like LeBron, but there will. There will. Maybe not as good as him or great as him, but there's going to be somebody chasing LeBron like LeBron and Kobe chased Jordan.
Right. That's amazing. Yeah, the shooting is like incredible. Like everybody just can shoot from anywhere today.
Yeah.
It seems like the shooting skills and, you know, is one of the athleticism, just the people, I think, taking care of their bodies and just, you know, really being focused on physical fitness, right? And so, but do you think the game has gotten a little too soft? Some of these touch fouls and knickknacks, are they protecting the superstars too much these days? What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, I would consider it soft based on the era I played in. That's why you see the numbers are really inflated. You know, guys averaging a triple-double for a season. Nobody thought that had ever happened again since Oscar Robertson. And, you know, they're cleaning it up, you know. Less physicality, more finesse. But, you know, it's still a great game to watch. You know, you have less of the pushing and shoving and grabbing and more player movement so you can really see the skill set of these players.
Right. So you came to the Celtics after growing up in California in the Los Angeles area. You were a Lakers fan growing up. So when the Celtics drafted you, did they provide you a psychiatrist to like help adjust?
Oh man, that was one of the greatest days of my life being drafted. Being drafted by the Celtics, I didn't know what was going to happen, and I was just like, how did this happen? How ironic is this that a kid growing up a Laker fan and cheering for the Lakers, hated the Celtics, get drafted by the Celtics. which on part a team that I didn't even work out for. I was projected to go top 5. The Celtics drafted the number 10 pick that year. And so I slid in the draft for some unknown reason and wind up getting picked for them. And I was just like, wow. But on the flip side, just understanding the history and going from one tradition in Kansas to another historical organization, it was all worth it because you hear about the stories of Red Auerbach, Bill Russell, Larry Bird, and actually go into the Garden and see the banners, the retired numbers, and actually see some of the former players. I respect the game. I'm an historian, and I love and respect the game, and I always respected those guys, even though I didn't like them. But to be part of it, it was a true honor at the end of the day once I got there and really learned more of the history of the Boston Celtics.
Right. Well, you had an amazing career there. And what do you think was the big differentiator in being able to play for almost 2 decades? I mean, that's a real accomplishment. What kind of, what was kind of do you attribute staying fit so long? Is it the diet? How do you stay healthy? What was your routine? What are some of your personal fitness tips?
I think, you know what, I've been around the game for a long time. And I think for me, you have to be good, one, for people to for organizations to want you to play for them. 2, I believe you have to be lucky on top of taking care of your body, on top of, having the right diet, getting your rest, and balancing out your on-the-court life with your off-the-court life, because even the greatest athletes who do all these things, they succumb to injuries. And that's something sometimes you can't do anything about. You've seen guys like Derrick Rose, who's, one of the best young players our league has ever seen, the youngest MVP, get derailed by injuries. He's still playing, but I've seen it over and time again, just so many great players. No matter how good you take care of your body, no matter how well you train and diet, you have to be lucky in some capacity. But I just think the combination of all those things for me enabled me to play such a long career. Massages, eating right, going to bed on time, and getting your full rest. I invested in a hyperbaric chamber, I remember, and I would sleep in that thing for hours, and it would rejuvenate me. And it's just doing all the little things do add up if you want to enjoy a long, successful career.
Are there certain foods that you said you avoided, and you just said, I'm not going to eat this even if I want to? And, did you have to? I bet, you like the Rocky Road ice cream, so it sounds like you let yourself enjoy.
On occasion, I didn't eat a lot of sweets during the season, and I really was a picky eater. I didn't eat a lot of beef during the season, only like summer. I was mainly, vegetables and fish. My pregame meal consistently for years, I ate salmon, baked potato, and broccoli. That was my pregame meal, and then a peanut butter jelly sandwich like an hour before the game.
Right.
And I stuck with it for a very long time. And, maybe that's something that works if the young kids are out there listening.
I like it. That's great. Well, we need to move on to another wine here. We're having, we have still 3 more wines to go here. Let's do the next one, the Chateauneuf du Pape. Here it is.
Here's the Chateauneuf du Pape, and this is one of the most kind of revered producers of Chateauneuf, Henri Bonneau. And the family, just like Chave, has a long storied history in Chateauneuf du Pape in the southern Rhone Valley in France. And this wine, it's 90% Grenache, but since it's Syrah night, they did sneak in like 2 or 3% of Syrah. Because what's really unique about Chateauneuf du Pape is there are 18 permitted different varieties of grapes. So you could use 1 or you can use 18, and there are many producers that kind of run the gamut in between. And this is one of their top cuvées, the Reserve du Célestin. He likes it.
Yeah.
What are you tasting?
Wow, this is very. Oh, this is it right here.
Okay.
This just rolls off my tongue. It's so smooth. I can drink this at any time of the day. You can do a daytime or dinner. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, this is pretty impressive. I mean, this is it's almost I want to say like pruny, but it's not like the right, it's not, pruny has a negative connotation,
Yeah.
but it has that kind of like that good stewed fruit, like where you have like something like fruit that you're cooking in a meal, and it's like
Jammy. Jammy in a good way.
Yeah.
Concentrated.
Concentrated. It's got that creamy edge, and it's got that same kind of, the No Limit's got that little spice, that forest spice, and that hot stones, and kind of the area, the signature kind of area.
But this wine is aged in all different size barrels for 3 to 5 years, if not even longer. And 2012 is one of the best vintagers of the past 2 decades in the Southern Rhone. And this one, I would say, John, how old have you had Henri Bonneau?
I think I've had a 62. I've had the 78. I've had, of course, 89, 90 are the big time bottles. I mean, those bottles are over $1,000 a bottle, Paul, and like younger ones are not as expensive. But this guy Henri Bonneau is a legend in the region. He just passed away. He was in his late 80s. He passed away last year. But he was like a wizard, like a magician, just doing stuff in his basement, where no sunlight and all the gold on the ceiling and all these crazy cellar. And he was just a real legend for the region. So we're excited to kind of share this wine with you. And you said you went to the pop. We went straight to the penthouse.
This is definitely something I would have, like a great steak or like some lamb chops too, or something like that. Some type of poultry.
Yep. Lamb is fantastic with Chateauneuf Pop. I think that's one of the Yep.
Yeah, this is great with that.
A classic marriage, a classic pairing, lamb and Chateauneuf Pop. There's lots of kind of game meats in the Southern Rhone, and they cook the two all together.
Yeah, definitely.
So what about wine in the NBA in general? So, we talked, we had Carmelo on and JJ, they were both in the bubble. So you didn't go to the bubble as you did the analysis in New York and such, but, they said wine was everywhere. Every night, everybody was drinking wine. There's a lot of wine going on down there. And, guys are, they're being moderate, having a glass or two or three or four. But but how was it? I mean, when you were, playing the NBA, you didn't really hear much about wine in the NBA. Was there somebody that kind of brought wine? Like, did somebody turn you on to wine from the NBA? Did somebody, or did you turn on other people? What's the culture like now compared to then?
Well, the bubble has definitely created a certain culture because, all the guys had a chance to get together in one place. But this is something we did with your teammates. You go out on the road, have a great dinner, you sit in the back and enjoy some wine with a lot of your teammates. And the guys who really spearheaded for me was more like Sam Cassell, who played with me in 2008, and Kevin Garnett. That was like my wine group right there. So we would be like, look, this is the young guys, they want to go to the club and all that. Me and the older guys at the time, we were like, look, we're going to go to dinner, sit in the back, maybe get a private room, get a couple bottles of wine, get some good food in us. And we still do that to this day. I still do that to this day with these guys. We'll meet on our occasions when we're all in the same town together, when we're not working or traveling, and we'll sit down and, man, next thing you know, the thing about wine culture, you'll sit there with a group of friends, say start at 8 o'clock, then you look up, it's like 1 in the morning. Yeah. You're like, time passes so fast, and you just sit there. And there's times we would pair with a cigar too. We would go to a cigar lounge, the Havana Room, either in New York or in Beverly Hills, and that's where we would enjoy some good wine. And we mostly did that in the summertime after the season, where we'll have our cigars and wine.
Right. Yeah, wine is it's the best lubricant, not only for your own self, but just for conversation, for friendship. I mean, it's
Yeah.
really an amazing thing. And once you get bit by that wine bug, it's tough to lose. It's tough to lose it. You know, it's really something that stays with you. Um, you know, so have you tried to get other people involved in wine, or is it kind of like, are you telling people, hey, you should try it? Are you kind of like an ambassador for wine yourself?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's something I always, like I said, that's something I always like to do. That's like my favorite thing to do. Like, let's go have dinner, have a couple bottles of wine with a good group of friends. You know, or we'll sit down on our poker nights. You know, we'll have 2 or 3 guys bring a good bottle of wine. We'll play cards until the middle of wee hours and have wine. It's so great for like camaraderie, bringing people together, you know, because, you know, the older you get, it's like, you know, we just want to chill out, dinner, cards, or maybe watch the football game at night and have a glass of wine and then go to sleep.
Yeah, I've made a living out of going to dinner, so I know what you're talking about. That's definitely a good rule of thumb. So why don't we get to the Australian wine here? Now it's wine number 4 from Australia. We both had a little problem with the cork. The cork crumbled a little bit, and it was a little crumbly, but the wine is A-OK. So talk to us, Lily, about the Grange.
So this is the 1987 Penfolds Grange, which is, I think, I would say Australia's most famous wine, and it's labeled as Hermitage, just like we had the Hermitage from Chave. The Penfolds is also on the label called Grange Hermitage because they tried to make an iteration of Syrah, the greatest Syrah in France, but in Australia. And this is 90% Syrah with one of your favorites, Paul, 10% Cabernet. And it instead of being aged in French oak, it's aged in American oak. So it has a little bit more of that like coconut dill sort of flavors to it, a little bit more herbal on the nose, or even like minty eucalyptus. But it's a big wine. It's over 30 years old, but it's still big.
Yes. This taste is a little more full bodied than the other ones I've tasted. Would that be correct?
Yep, absolutely. I mean, you could say that there's a richer, there's a little bit of an oakier, and you hit it on the head, Lily, with the coconut and the dill, you know. I mean, those are exotic qualities. Now, this wine is 33 years old, so in 1987, and it's still very young and still very fresh. And I think this is the next phase that we have to kind of get you into those older wines, Paul, you know, as we start to collecting, you got to get the older wines. That's the next step to take, because the young wines are great, but they develop like people. Like, you're not the same guy you were 10 years ago.
No, I'm not.
And neither is this bottle of wine. And that's more exciting. And like the Grange is like, this is an iconic wine. This is considered the greatest wine made in Australia. And it's kind of a good contrast. Now we've got California, we've got Northern Rhone, we've got Southern Rhone, we've got Australia, and that's all the great regions for Syrah. You know, these are all Syrahs, and it's just kind of exciting to
this is a good one.
Together. So talk to us about now you're working for ESPN. You're an analyst at ESPN. You're providing great commentary and color. How did that happen? Did you knock on their door? Did they knock on yours? Did you have to go to broadcasting school? What was it like transitioning from on the court to off the court?
Well, this is how it went down. While I was still playing toward the last few years of my career, I worked as an analyst on the panel for the finals. As my teams, my last 2 years didn't really go too far in the playoffs as I retired with the Clippers. And, you know, it was just like, wow, you know, I'm on the panel, I'm talking about the game, I'm having a good time, I'm still involved with the game. And this is something I did every day in the locker room anyway. Me and guys would get together before practice, we'll talk about other games that we watched, and, you know, whether we either criticize the player or, you know, admire the player. You know, this is just part of our everyday lives in the locker room or on the bus. Did you see, what's his name, Vince Carter last night, or T-Mac? Man, he could have did this, did that. And then when I got in the studio for my last couple of years, because I was doing it while I was still playing. And so when I retired, I was like, I really enjoyed doing it. But before I did it my last couple of years, what people don't even know, I hosted a show in Boston on for Fox where I did my own show. I had players come on. And so I always liked the aspect of being an analyst, or, you know, I can even do sideline broadcasting too. I've done a game for the Boston Celtics a couple times. And so when I look back at my career, when I was doing it while I was playing towards the end of my career, I was like, this is something that I can probably do, full time. You know, it gives me a chance to still be around the game, which I still love, but can't play like I used to, obviously. Still keep up with the players, which I would probably do anyway. And I just kind of fell into it. I mean, you know, after I retired, after I did the last 2 years, I got a call from ESPN and asked would I like to join their analyst team full time, and I was like, sure. You know, they have studios in Los Angeles, which where I live, and New York, and you know, it wouldn't commit me to be gone every day or travel like for long periods of time like I did with the league, because you know, once you retire, you want to spend some time with the kids because my kids are young, and you want to spend more time around them. Because you miss so many opportunities by playing ball when you have kids. You know, when you're not there for them taking their first step or learning how to ride a bike because you're on the road traveling. It's just like you miss so many things as a player and sacrifices that people don't understand that are huge for a father or a parent. And you know, taking this job wouldn't require as much time as playing or coaching. And so I just thought, hey, this would be awesome. You know, I can still be around the game. I loved doing it when I was my last 2 years in the league. And so they asked me if I want to do it. And I was like, sure. And I've been doing this the last 3 years since I've been retired. And, you know, and I enjoy it. Keeps me somewhat busy.
We enjoy it too. You provide great commentary, and you know, I like following what you do off the court just as much as what you did on. So we're very grateful to have you still involved, and you know, as a fan, to still have you involved in the NBA. It's a great thing. And I have a feeling if you weren't doing the commentary, we might see you in like the Bellagio at the poker tables, you know, with Daniel Negreanu or something.
Might see me at the World Series a few more times.
All right, so we got one more wine to taste through before we wrap things up. This has been an amazing session. We have now the value selection. Now these wines, well, the no limit was about $70, but a bottle. The Shah was about $300. The Celestin about $400. The Grange about $500. You know, these are, you know, not everyday wines, but now we have an everyday wine, $35 a bottle here. And we kind of like to taste something that's a great value, that's still a delicious wine. And take it away, Lily. Tell us about this wine.
So this is the 2018 Domaine Forêt Saint-Joseph. So it's 100% Syrah again. Back in France, this is kind of a lesser known appellation right next to Hermitage. Yep. And they make wine in a very traditional way. They're still stomping on the grapes with their feet. And like John mentioned with Hermitage, this is super steep slopes and you get a great minerality to it. And I think John and I tasted this wine a few months ago, and we had some disagreement as to whether or not he'd like it. And I just keep throwing it in his face to say, this wine's pretty good, isn't it? Especially at the price. And I hope you have the same feelings about it tonight, because it's really purely delicious. I think lots of great fruit right up front and not as much of that oak. It only sees 10% new oak. So it's just more about the fruit and the freshness.
Yeah, very refreshing. Wow. See, I need to get to the point in my wine adventures to where I can just take a sip of it and I can just tell you exactly, you know, what's in it. Like you say, the coconut, the pepper, you know, just the oak and all of that. I need to get to that point.
We do classes.
I definitely need to take a class in wine tasting.
It's just, you know, you just got to keep drinking. It's very simple.
That too.
You got to get the wine geeks around you. You know, we'll get together, maybe do a dinner or two with some of the hardcore guys in New York, it would be, I think you'd enjoy it, and, you really get to see that. I mean, everybody's into like, identifying and training themselves as to what the flavors are, what the aromas are. I mean, kind of the, what we call the cork dork, the world of the cork dork. It's kind of like getting into the wine. It's funny, sometimes we all get together, and all the wives will be like, oh God, they're talking about wine. They only go over there and they're geeking out about wine. It's fun. So we have, it's amazing, $35 a bottle. And, we had all these, wines that are much more expensive, but still, you're not kicking it out of the glass. I mean, it's a great bottle of wine and something you could drink every day without, thinking twice about it.
Yeah, absolutely. It's not going to hurt your pocketbook either.
Right.
Not going
$35. I mean, that's something we can all appreciate, without a doubt. So we're going to wrap things up with our 60-second shot clock. We're going to ask you rapid fire questions. We did have one question I saw from the crowd before we get into that. They said, would you ever consider coaching? I don't know if there were any other questions, Lily. I wasn't paying attention.
You're good.
So good. But somebody asked, would you ever consider coaching?
No, I don't think I want to be a coach because I saw the headaches I gave Doc Rivers, and I don't want to see that next player giving me a headache. I played the game for so many years, such a long career, and it took up, almost half my life at the time that, coaching takes up so much time. It's almost like being a player again. And I just don't see it. Although I love the game and I wouldn't mind passing down my knowledge of the game to certain individuals. But coaching is just, I think, too time consuming for me right now at this stage of my life because, I have 3 beautiful kids, one 12, one 9, and one 7. And, right now are some real crucial years for them for me to really be around. And so it'll be, if there's something that I did, it will be down the road, maybe like 8 or 9 years from now, but not currently.
Right. I hear you. All right. 60-second shot clock. Here we go. We're going to ask you some rapid fire questions. This first thing that comes to mind, let us have it. All right. Got the clock ready?
Yes.
Okay. Even though we never adhere to the clock, it's okay.
Exactly. Just go for it, John.
Tell me 15 seconds are left. I say, forget the clock. All right. Here we go. Red or white wine?
Red.
Who's your childhood NBA hero?
Magic Johnson.
What's the food you hate the most?
Oh, Ethiopian food.
All right. What's one of your favorite movies?
Carlito's Way.
All right. Next year's league MVP?
Kevin Durant.
One of your favorite musical artists?
Michael Jackson.
Most wines you've ever drank in a night. Not bottles, but most wines you've ever tasted in one night.
8 in Napa Valley.
All right, nice. Signature shot to win a game of horse.
Half court shot.
Half court shot, cool. And your last supper food and wine pick?
Definitely steak, ribeye, medium rare, truffle fries with a bottle of Camus Special Select.
Nice. Okay. Who's the best player you ever shared the court with?
Kevin Garnett.
Your most worthy NBA opponent?
Oh my gosh. LeBron James and Kobe Bryant.
Sounds like you wanted to add another. Okay, LeBron.
I know, it's so hard.
Right. And what's the best NBA team of all time?
The 1984 Boston Celtics.
There you go. There you have it. Paul Pierce, thank you so much. It was great having you here. An amazing session. Keep up the great work with ESPN, and it was a real pleasure sharing these great wines with you. And in person one day in the future.
Cheers, mate. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Everybody. Thank you for tuning in. Cheers.